There's something different about winter. The cold doesn't just touch your skin, it sinks into your bones. When you're alone in the woods, snow muffles every sound, except the one you're not supposed to hear. These are four true stories of people who went into the silence of winter and came back haunted by what they found, or what found them. I spent a weekend in a remote winter cabin with my girlfriend back in January. It was a gift from her parents, this beautiful, secluded place buried in snow, surrounded by pine trees and total silence. No cell service, no neighbors for miles. The first 2 nights were calm. On the third night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a soft knocking. I thought it was just the wind tapping a loose shutter. I peeked out the frosted window and saw nothing. But when I turned off the light and looked again, I noticed a shape, someone standing completely still about 20 feet from the cabin, just staring. I jolted back. When I looked again, they were gone. The next morning, I found footprints in the snow leading up to the window, but no footprints leading away. I rented a small cabin in the Adirondacks for some alone time. No internet, no electricity, just me, some books, and a fireplace. It was peaceful until the first night when I heard soft creaking upstairs. On the second night, I started waking up to whispering sounds like two people talking low behind the walls. I thought maybe I was just being paranoid or hearing wind through cracks in the wood, but on the third night, I woke up and found a message scratched into the kitchen table. It wasn't there before. It said, "Still here." I left immediately and drove through a snowstorm back to town. A few days later, I got a call from the rental company. They found a makeshift bed and a stash of food in the crawl space under the floorboards. Someone had been living there. While I slept above them, my friends and I stayed at a ski cabin near the Canadian border. No cell signal, but we had firewood, games, and snacks. The second night, while we were sitting around the fire, we saw a weird white glow in the forest. It looked like headlights, but there were no roads nearby. One of us, Ivan, decided to check it out. He said he'd be back in 5 minutes. 10 passed, then 20. Then we heard him scream. We searched for hours. The next morning, rescue teams found his body over a mile away, half buried in snow. His face was frozen in this twisted expression like pure fear. But the creepiest part? When we reviewed the cabin's exterior camera footage, it never recorded any light in the woods, not even once. My family rented a luxury cabin for Christmas break, me, my parents, and my little brother. The cabin was isolated but cozy. On the third night, strange things started happening. It began with soft knocks at the windows. My dad checked no one was there. Then my brother started waking up crying, saying he saw people in the snow watching the house. One morning we found a child's mitten on the porch. We thought it was just some lost item until that night, when we saw them 3 figures, standing out in the tree line, not moving, just watching. We called the police, but by the time they arrived, there were no tracks in the snow, nothing at all. The snow was untouched. A week after we got home from the cabin, my girlfriend started having these dreams, vivid ones. She'd wake up sweating, saying she saw the same man who was standing outside the window. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. One night, I caught her standing at the window at 3 a.m., whispering. She didn't remember doing it. I set up a camera to monitor us while we slept. The next morning, I checked the footage. Around 2:47 a.m., she sat up, turned her head toward the corner of the room, and smiled. I watched, frozen, as a shadow moved across the far wall, tall, thin, and twitching slightly, as if trying to stay hidden. But the worst part was that our dog, who had been in bed with us, growled and then backed away from that same corner. We moved out of that apartment a week later. But I swear, I still see movement in the mirrors when I pass. A Reddit post recently went viral in our local area. It was from a guy who said he'd broken into an abandoned winter cabin deep in the woods during a storm. He claimed he'd found old photographs, all of strangers standing outside various cabins. In every photo, the people were facing away from the camera. In the very last photo, the man wrote, "One of the people had finally turned around and the face wasn't human." The reason this story stuck with me? In the background of one of those photos, blurry but visible, was the exact same cabin we stayed in that weekend. I double checked. Same windows, same porch, same icicle-draped awning, That was our cabin.